Well, welcome to our first installment of our Real Producers podcast, bringing our stories to life that we publish in the magazine. I am with DARCIE Barton. She is with Keller Williams Capital Partners. She is our cover feature for our March edition. So we're just going to kind of do a deeper dive into DARCIE's story and let's get to know her better. So DARCIE, my first question for you is, why the cows on the cover? And I love it because it's outside of the box.
Thank you. I have to thank you, honestly, because you let me be a little creative with this. There's a couple of meanings. Number one, I work and play in the city. So, keeping it hyper local was one of the goals. This is actually a Wagyu insemination farm that's out in Plain City, kind of the Plain City, Dublin area. And, just coming to back, the old adage was, it's a cow town. We are a cow town. Mm-hmm. And yet Columbus is very much, and the surrounding suburbs have very much hit the big city atmosphere. We're changing, we're developing. I wanted to incorporate the cows just to keep it kind of that local idea, as well as, we're sharing that greenery with them now too, because there's a lot of development going on.
Yeah, I love it. So in your story, I learned a lot about you, and there are so many kind of different points that you took where you eventually ended up in real estate. And one of those things that you did in your past was sell luxury cars. Mm-hmm. For how many years?
I would say it was back from on and off, but about 96, 95, 96, up until 2006. So a good amount of time that I was doing it. Mm-hmm. There were multiple facets of it. My favorite was actually doing the sales part. The wholesaling behind the scenes. I actually made a lot more money doing it. The interaction with the public is what I miss the most. And when 2008 came, everything changed. The landscape changed. And so I had a part-time real estate career. We were actually in Texas, and I took it full steam ahead because, in about 4 months, I hadn't had a paycheck. So it was a very scary time, but it was also a great time to kind of look outside the box and see where else could I be successful. And
remind us what brought you to Ohio and how did you end up here?
Been to Ohio all my life. I actually was taken to Texas by getting married. And so he was relocated there on a job.
Okay.
It was a little town called Harlingen, Texas, 30 minutes north of the Texas-Mexico border. So we kind of lived on a border town for about 11 years. We had our kids there, and I will tell you that was kind of a scary time. Like me, I'm one shade from albino, so we didn't blend with the culture very well, nor did my kids. So we ended up, and when things got a little contentious on the border, this is when our parental instincts took over, and
Sure.
We really wanted to get back to our roots, and we missed Ohio. We wanted our kids to kind of be born and raised in the same cities and share kind of the same memories with them growing up. So it was a drive to get back to the city where we grew up.
So when and why did you then kind of dedicate your life to your real estate career?
Well, it was actually flourishing when we were in Texas. Granted, the median price point was around $80,000. So the huge money potential, but I was doing something that I really loved. I could create it, and I loved being able to not do what the regular real estate agent was doing. I didn't have that canned speech or canned activity, and I got to actually use some creativity that I didn't realize I could. By the time that the business was going, my husband got a relocation back here, so we found a house in Powell and moved and started all over again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So part of your story Okay, so I'll kind of formally ask you this question.
Sure.
Your journey has taken a lot of unexpected turns, from ceramics to car sales to real estate. So talk to us about, you were going to go to college for ceramics. Is that right? And talk me through what happened. We were talking about this the other day, but
a lot of patterns happen to my injuries. For some reason, I make these major moves and major life changes over the injuries I've taken. That one at the time was, I was playing powder puff football, got injured, actually had a full reconstruction done to my shoulder at 18 years old. And
wow.
I got a full ride to Ohio Northern on a ceramics scholarship. And it wasn't but 6 days afterwards that this game had happened. But you had to come in freshman year, being able to throw with 50 pounds of clay. And I was an immobilizer for 6 months. So, and they weren't offering, I couldn't take a year off and get that. So I literally was that fork in the road.
Yeah, that had to be so devastating in the moment of what you
time,
think
I
your
thought
life
so.
was going to look like.
Right.
Yeah.
Thought I was going to go into some sort of clay animation, do like special effects for horror movies. And now they have all computer generated. I don't think they use clay anymore. So it was complete change, but it was a change for the good. Now I ended up just going to Ohio State. I was there for a couple of quarters, and it showed that my grades were suffering, and I was just not there because of what I wanted to do.
So negotiation is a huge part of real estate. Do you utilize some of what you learned when being in car sales and wholesaling and things like that apply to what you do now?
Absolutely. Very much, I kind of look at whether we're buying, whether I'm with one of my clients that's buying a property, or whether I'm selling. I'm always trying to look. And it takes a long, we haven't mentioned it, but playing pool, you're always thinking 3 shots ahead. And I take that same analogy and I use it in strategy of negotiation with a deal. Whether it's a buyer or seller, we're always trying to look at what the predictive outcome is and trying to set up and be prepared for that.
Yeah.
That's the goal.
So you have experienced major challenges, like starting over in Ohio's real estate market, recovering from a recent injury, also in 2024, that you talk about in your story. How did these moments shape you as a person and a professional?
I learned a lot about myself in the last year. On everything always was fairly easy for me. And I felt that my trajectory was obviously my motivation level, my thinking outside the box. But when you get something as an unexpected in this, and then I'm not capable of doing these things, you then have to rely on the people that you work with and that you're surrounded with, the team, and you have to rely on that. Yeah. And that self-exploration, not voluntary, was a huge lesson in learning how my leadership style, my direction, things that I had to learn about myself. There was a full circle, the mental health aspect of that on me feeling that I'm in control of everything. And at the end of the day, it stops with me. When you have to go out and empower people, even though you're building them up, but then watch them flourish when you give them that opportunity, was amazing. And so organically, all of this kind of, at the time it was hard. I thought it wasn't possible, but faith and trust that you have great people you surround yourself with, things will get done. And we actually made some leaps and strides this last year that I didn't think were possible. So it was great.
Isn't that something? So in Darcie's story, it's funny now.
It is funny.
It's funny
it's
now,
funny.
Not then. She was at a real estate conference and was looking to go to In-N-Out and jumped
It's very hungry.
a fence, been there, hangry, and she ended up fracturing your leg in 31 places.
31 places.
And so did you continue with the conference and didn't see a doctor until you got home?
No. I found out a little tip that is if you are on the Strip and you do need an emergency vehicle, it's $18,000 one way. So I didn't go that way. A security guard gave me the tip that you just take an Uber. So my team leader at the time, we got an Uber, raced to the emergency room, and I'm telling everyone, it's just dislocated. I'll be back. I'll see you tonight later. It was not dislocated. It
was the pain. The pain had to be.
I had liquid intense. Courage at that time, Katie.
Yeah.
I was fine. We ended up taking me back. I got an Uber back to my hotel room. I had a bag of ice, and I did have to play charades, try to get the Uber driver to get me to a CVS that was 24 hours in Vegas. We did that.
Oh my gosh.
Took me back. Katie Guntel is another partner of mine. Katie actually went everywhere. This is 3:00 in the morning Vegas time when I got back, and she is searching all over. I think she stole a wheelchair for me because I couldn't get up there. There were things that you don't realize until you're forced in that situation that you have to overcome. Again, Katie saved my life that night and got me up to my hotel room. And then Lisa Gibbs, Brian Kemp. There were so many people for 31 hours that brought me ice, brought me food, came to check on me to make sure I was okay. And then Lisa ultimately, 31 hours later, got me to the airport and got a one-way flight. And I got back home, had the surgery 24 hours later.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I was very lucky.
Yeah.
I actually, one of my former clients got me in touch with an amazing orthopedist that put me back together again. And all of my therapy on recuperation was with another one of my former clients that saw the story and saw it on social media because someone goes through that, you just share it with the world. Why not?
Oh, yeah.
So actually reached out and said, hey, I know you. This is my specialty. So I got so lucky. And
amazing.
Yeah.
Well, and then how long were you in a wheelchair for?
4 months.
4 months. So sincerely, we talked about this on the phone on our initial call, just that learning. Can you imagine, especially if you are somebody who is a control freak in business, talk about you have no choice than to rely on other people and figure it out, and what a trial by fire in 4 months. But really, and we've discussed this, making you stop, and it's changed some perspectives for you.
Sure
it's
has.
Forced you to grow, and your team is probably overall better for
Absolutely.
that horrible thing taking place. I know we also discussed just forcing you to kind of, because you're a go person, and you had no choice to kind of sit there and you're just with yourself and your thoughts, and forcing you to slow down. Yeah.
Very much was something that you're not prepared to be forced to have to deal with. So there was a lot of, I can't take myself too serious. And I will tell you that experience has definitely mellowed me out a little bit more. And then obviously relying on the people that you work with was huge. It's kind of funny because ironically, 2 months prior to that, I had just released the side of my business that is the staging side of it.
You were getting ready to really kind of amp up everything.
We did one listing in Powell that was almost 7,500 square foot, and it was given to us vacant. And so the side of it is I don't always like to rely on a stager so much. There's the control freak side of me, and I won't like things, and I don't want to hurt their feelings. So I will tell you, just the basics I would come in with. And then we got this opportunity to get this estate to sell, and we went and furnished the whole thing, and it turned out beautiful, and we had multiple offers, and it was an amazing experience to see that this is something that, even putting our own flair on it, it worked. So when I came back from this conference, this was going to be full blown, and then this happens. Then we had other listings lined up for it. So I really had to rely on the team. I did go there with my wheelchair. They were amazing owners, and just thought the story was hilarious. They're like, wow, you're a real person. And absolutely, yes, I do jump over fences and think I'm 20 years old, and I'm not. And then
Right.
that's where you are.
Right.
So they had a great sense and trusted the process. They trusted the team members too. We got the painters in there, and they did an amazing job. I mean, everything worked out great. So we're still on that build up, and now I'm back at about 99%, and I'm back staging all the properties again as well as listing them.
So you do you have a staging truck?
I do.
Is that correct?
I do.
Did you just accumulate items over the years you've been doing this, or was this like a poignant decision where you decided we're going to implement this into our business? How did you kind of come to that decision point?
There was an original, obviously, working from the client services and trying to offer a concierge. The full idea at first was to be a moving truck. That changed a little when the staging component came in. So what I decided to do with that is then it was very hard to find vehicles at this time because this was right at the height of COVID.
Yes.
So I bought that vehicle in 2021, and it happened to be a custom build for a customer that walked away from it last minute, and they didn't have a buyer from it. And you usually had to wait 6-8 months at that point. And it was a niche type. It had a 9-foot lift on it, but it was a shorter wheelbase, but it was perfect for what I needed the use for. And I think my husband's coined the phrase, I'm a luxury hoarder of materials. I probably have, 500 white towels. So it was building up in the house. And then, so now it's kind of been it's been a journey with that too. I'm now at 9 units that I have all of the staging stuff. I did buy that truck, and my son had an ingenious idea. He's like, that's a really big, you could run some sort of wrap on that and do a billboard. So I took my business cards and I made a 4-foot version of me with my legs on the desk. Your legs on the desk. I can see that image in my mind. It's great. Stuck in traffic, you've got about a 4-foot sign of just my big egghead right there in the back of you staring at you. So
it's
a lot
memorable.
of people try to go around me.
It's so memorable.
But it's been a rolling billboard, and in implementing that, I've ended up, it was a kind of a dumbfounded idea that has worked out brilliantly. It is free marketing for me.
Yes.
And it's amazing how many, when you drive in the neighborhood, you're there for a couple of days, but you're driving through the streets. It's amazing how many phone calls have come because of the staging truck being in the neighborhood. So we before this kind of got going, we were talking about just outside the box thinking. And so, I mean, clearly, if you're going to college for ceramics, you're an artistic, creative person. Have you always kind of been, I want to do not the norm. I don't want to be like everyone else. Have you kind of always? There's always been a creative side. So leaving that journny, the outlet, I needed some sort of creative outlet. Mm-hmm. Houses fit that. I can't see it from my own house, as everyone can attest to. But I can see it in every other house that I walk into. And creating those natural flows within the homes, and it's fun. It's like in a life-size dollhouse for me to go in there, but making sure that we're hitting the marketing. The whole idea is to get that return on investment and showing people the flexibility of space on how they can use it, whether it's our vision or not. The whole idea of having it staged is to show either how big it is or how the flow works in the house. Someone else can see their stuff in that house and be able to live harmoniously in that space. I love looking at that. I love seeing that.
I want to touch on an image in your story.
Oh, boy.
This one.
Cool.
So talk to me about pool. When did this be, when was this a part of your life? Why? Kind of talk to us about that, part of your story.
Years ago, right around maybe 20, 21 years old, I never picked up a pool cue in my life. Never thought about it. I was asked to be a fourth in a pickup game playing pool. I didn't know how to hold a stick. It was very embarrassing, and the competitive side of me took over. And it was so embarrassing at the time that I showed up at this pool hall every day, trying and
Determined to get better.
Determined to figure this game out. I wanted to master it. And there was a guy named Sharky that was the local pool hustler. It was so embarrassing. He's like, I cannot watch the car crash. I think, can I just show you a couple of things? And that led into, I was playing 3 leagues a week. I was in my early 20s at the time, and playing tournaments. And our women's league, that ladies group that I was with, we actually won the All-City. We took All-State and went to Vegas for 11 days and took a national championship. Yeah, it was kind of fun. I will tell you, I went on the professional circuit for 36 days. That's as long as I made it. It was not the life that I wanted to live.
Interesting.
I decided that I was never going to be successful or make any money playing professionally. I love the journey, but the journey ended there. So now it's for fun. And I have trifocals at this point. So, depth perception is my biggest enemy anymore. So.
Oh, shoot. That is so, isn't that funny that you did you find you ended up being kind of a natural at it? Like after you got some lessons?
So I'm a left-hander, and that's another little tidbit that probably people don't know unless you see me right. I'm left-handed. It was very hard to have anyone kind of teach me. I had to kind of learn my own way. Once I got the fundamentals, was explained to me the fundamentals of the game, I took it and kind of ran with it. And I will tell you, I had to lose a lot of money to get very good games out of people to really get the game and watch the strategy. There's very much like baseball, or those are strategy games, or chess, something like that. Pool is very much a strategy game. And if you haven't played it a lot, you're not gonna realize that, but you really have to be good enough to kind of look at the whole trajectory of a table and plan out your roadmap and look for forks in a road, and your map can be planned, and you have to be able to pivot. So very much the fundamentals I learned in that game, or selling cars, dealing with the public, they all, in a weird way, all of it kind of led me down to the path, and I'm using those instinctual moves and strategy maneuvers that I learned back in my early 20s.
I think the general public sometimes has a hard time understanding the true value and role of a professional agent and why they are so needed in our communities. I think sometimes you have to fight for your value and the credibility of the value that you bring to our community and your clients. Would you just kind of touch on that? Are you seeing that becoming more of a topic of conversation now, or you feel like you're fighting for your position given the current environment in real estate? Or I just would like your perspective on that.
It depends on the client. I will tell you, I welcome that though. A lot of my business has been over the years, and I will tell you, I was on a larger team prior to doing this. I was independent. I'm independent again. We're building our own team now. The fundamentals that are there, and because of a lot of rule changes that have happened and laws that got changed here last year, the professional agent. I love how you coin that, because there is a difference.
Yes,
there is a difference.
I agree.
And it's not only on how you're going to strategize and help your clients and the value that you bring for whether listing their home, helping them buy and sell. Either one of those, there's past experience that helps you. Every transaction makes me a better agent. And you always take away a learning capability from that. And I think where I've been very successful and I have repetitive clients over the years, it's because I never stick to those same values that I'm bringing. There's always a new spin. If there's something new that's coming that is going to benefit my clients, that's where we're at. This is not about me. But now it has to be a little bit about me if I am selling myself. That's probably been the most unique thing that has happened in this journey with this change. I was excited when the rule change happened. Having us actually tell you why we are different than someone else and bringing those characteristics, I think that's so valuable that a lot of people, until this rule change happened, really didn't have to explain. Whether you're a listing agent, there is the agent that will stick a sign and you might not hear from them again. And that, to me, was a disservice.
Yes.
I want to earn a compensation. So preparation ahead of time before that house goes out on listing is monumental to do, or you're setting it up for failure. So bringing in a lot of those tools, those are the things that needed. And a lot of listing or sellers did not understand that until this rule change came in. So it's actually shed a light on it, which needed to happen. So I think it's great. The buy side has, for some agent, it's been very difficult for them to adjust to that. I don't feel that it was difficult. I'm not the bragger. I do what I do. I didn't realize I was good at this until a lot of my clients gave me feedback on why I was different. Other agents that they've worked with, I didn't realize that this was something I coined the phrase that they thought I was talented at. It was only on their feedback telling me that you are so different than any other agent that we've been to. And it was a huge compliment. But then I had to dig deeper and find out what made that difference. And that's really where my journey has gone with my business, has more been the client feedback on what they found was different, what they found was refreshing, and, fine tuning that along the way.
That's a great answer. Okay, so I'll end it with one last question and then just ask you something fun.
Okay.
So looking back on your journey, what's one piece of advice you'd give to someone who's at a crossroads in their career, unsure of what to do next?
I can tell you is talking to someone that has plowed the road before. And I'll tell you, I know a lot of the agents within the city. So many of them are actually friends. And there's some of the people that have probably they have the biggest hearts. They will give the shirt off their backs. Talking to someone that has already plowed that road, I think it's crucial. And to either take that type of advice, learn from the people that have already been there. And if someone's going to give you a nugget that's going to get you on the path, that's free. And it's all about talking to them. Don't be afraid to talk to people that have been there before you. I still talk to people that are a lot more successful than I am in this industry, and it was getting up the courage to talk to them. And I'll tell you, those have been the levels that I've hit because they have been so gracious to share that. I'm happy to share that kind of stuff.
So the space that I get to play in or be in, I really meet the best of the best humans and agents, whereas I was an affiliate for 8 years. And so sometimes you're exposed to the agents that aren't in that space, is I guess how I put it.
I think it's also on the day you get them too. Sometimes they have just a bad day and they're amazing people. I've had bad days.
That's a really good point, because that's all of us. And this business is so incredibly emotional, and there's a real mental health aspect to it. And I think there are some days where it's like, I cannot take one more piece of bad news regarding this transaction. or I'm going to freak out on the next person that I talk to.
So true.
So it's been great to find those agents that are, very collaborative and willing to pour back into the community and help other agents that
Katie,
aren't
try
as
'em
experienced.
Again. Try them again, I promise you. If you've ever run across that agent, it could have been a bad day.
Yeah.
There's a stereotype with our industry that the agent's supposed to always have the answer. And they're going to put a big cover for you, but they are humans too. There's only so much they can make. And if you're a professional, you find that way to get through it, but there's an outlet that has to be there. There's a way you've got to let go of some of that. And let's say the thing about our industry, we get families at the worst possible time.
Gosh. Yeah.
We're dealing with the thing that's most expensive that they have to let go of. We have their children that are being uprooted. We have their pets. We have everything that they're comfortable, the sanctity of their home. We are entrusting, and they have to entrust us to help and support them move. So we're seeing them at their worst.
Their worst. When I was going through my divorce, and I ended up using a family friend who was an agent, and I was like a shell of a person. And I had to get the home ready all by myself. And I was not my best self during that time. And just things that trigger you that wouldn't usually.
Right.
You're just trying to get through
so
it.
Emotional.
It was
even if
hard.
you're moving for an emotional reason, but then you're taking to where your core is and moving that, and having the faith and trust. We're not going to see you at the best moment. We know that. We have to, and I will tell you, the good agents, they're going to absorb some of that energy, and they are going to do their best to try to soften that blow or soften that transition and make it as easy as possible. I can tell you the ones, and there's so many of them out there, I look at myself, me included, I really resonate to the story. I want to know the story. Tell me the way to speak to you, and this might not be now. We work that journey together. You get a partner, you get the team as a partner, and we find the way. Sometimes they're happy moments, or if there's a multiple offer and they don't win that house, and it was like, I have to start all over again. No, you don't. It means that there's one better out there for you.
Yeah.
And I love those closings where we go in and Darcie, I was crying and we lost that house, and this one's so much better.
Yes.
It's so much fun. I got into this industry. It's interesting. I didn't know. 2008 changed my life. I thought I'd always be selling cars. I never put on the map that I was going to sell houses. And right when I was starting, there was a lady, she was divorced. She had, and she did not have custody. She took a new position. She had a 6-year-old daughter, and she was doing this all on her own. Had apartments the entire time, even when she was married. She got to a good position where she could actually be a first-time home buyer. And we looked at probably 3 or 4 houses. Daughter was very, very shy. She'd always smile, held on to mom though, and very hesitant until we found the one. And never said anything. I got a smile out of her, but the best thing happened is the little girl on closing day. Mom's there, and mom bought coloring, she was all excited, and she was smiling the whole time, and she looked at me and she said, "Thank you for getting me my backyard." And I said,
"Wow."
She's never had a backyard. I was hook, line, and sinker. And every time I think of this, and if I'm in a transaction, this is that you're changing the course of someone's life.
Yes.
And that moment of proud was incredible. And I was addicted. And I wanted to see more, and I wanted to meet more. I mean, I thought I just liked meeting people, but I love that they give me a little bit of time. I get to be a part of that family for a little bit of time.
Darcie, it's such a good point. I'm
not supposed to cry at this. Come on, Katie.
Love it. I love it. But you're touching on something that is so true about real estate, and just how blessed the community is to have an agent like you. That's the hard position that you're taking. my wise friend, Joanne Labuda. Hi, buddy.
Joanne.
I met her. She was a cover feature
She's
years
amazing.
ago. I fell in love with her, and she is ornery,
Love it.
and so funny. But one of this piece of advice or the statement she said to me that I'll always take with me. She said, "Katie, if you don't love people, this job is too hard. It's too hard." And so you just reiterated how much you love and care for people. And that's the heart of it.
Spirit animal. I so respect her. I'm lucky enough to get to work with her. I absolutely resonate to what she says to that because it's very true.
Yeah.
If you don't love the story, if you don't want to be a part of that, the good, bad, and the ugly, we're in it. We're in it together.
Yes.
And
yes.
that dedication to when it gets hard, we just find a creative way to get through it.
Well, I have a question that's not on here. What do you do for fun, for stress relief? Or is there something that maybe we don't know about Darcie Barton that you can share with us?
That I like tinted windows on my cars, and I happen to have a little bit of a lead foot. My entire family does, except for my daughter. She hates them. Very much the spirited driver. Love cars, love the aspect of cars, love the racing side of it. So if we get road rallies or, racetrack days and going out and playing, I am a little bit of an adrenaline junkie even at my tender age.
That's really cool. If you could have any dream car, what would you own?
Oof. Oh, that's so hard to pick.
Like a wish list, yeah. A top 2.
I'm very much on the German-inspired cars. I think I did just buy my dream car, but I got tinted windows on that, so we'll see if you can pick me out. How's that?
Okay, cool. What color is it?
It's black.
Love. Well, Darcie, thank you so much for allowing us to bring your story to life and just talk a little bit more about you.
Thank you. This is fun.
So fun. So fun.
You did make me cry.
Oh,
and I will get you for that, but this was great. Thank you.
Thank you, Darcie. And we'll see you next month.